Meet Taichi, a 38-year-old office worker with a secret gaming passion. He rushes into his gaming room with excitement written all over his face. Why? Because he's about to dive into the latest virtual reality MMO game. Despite his age, gaming is his escape route to feel young and all-powerful again. He logs in and meets the character creator screen. Now, Taichi is no show-off. In the gaming world, he's not the flashy main character type. He knows he can only play for a couple of hours a day due to his job. Plus, he doesn't want to be a bother to other players, so he plans on flying solo most of the time. To make himself even less party-friendly, he chooses some unusual skills. He goes for archery, even though it's known for terrible accuracy. Then he picks up medicine skills, which are kinda pointless because potions are dirt cheap from the in-game NPCs. His kick skill is nothing special, and his wind magic isn't great against fire and earth spells. He also has this sneaky ability that chews up a lot of magical power, and becomes useless if he moves too much. But to balance things out, he tosses in a bit of improved physical ability. Taichi's character ends up with skills like long-distance vision, fingertip woodworking, and cooking. Out of these, 6 of them are pretty weak. He names his character as Earth. With all this sorted out, he finally enters the game world. In this game, you can pretty much do whatever you want. It's launch day, and the place is packed. Earth quickly realizes that he's the only one who chose to be an archer. And just when he's soaking it all in, a guy named Ward comes along and knocks him down. Ward is all flashy, like a billionaire on a shopping spree. He makes fun of Earth for picking a bow as his main weapon, saying bows are useless. So there's Earth lying on the ground, while Ward and his gang laugh it up and walk away. Earth decides to head to the training hall instead. He's inspired by all the other players working hard to get better at the game. He goes to the shooting range, but his first shot is so bad that it's almost funny. He can see now that bows are even worse than the rumors say. But does he give up? Nope. He keeps shooting, and by the time he hits his 100th shot, his archery skill levels up by 5. He doesn't stop there. Earth practices his weak wind magic and gets it up to par. Then he focuses on improving his kicking skills, which he eventually gets to level 5 too. Earth decided it was time for an adventure in the game world. He had leveled up enough to not get squished immediately. But, whoa, his excitement got squashed pretty quickly when he stepped out and saw the hunting grounds were more crowded than a bus during rush hour. People were fighting over monsters like they were the last piece of pizza at a party. So, Earth thought, you know what? I'm going herb hunting. He used his fancy long-distance vision to spot some herbs, and he started picking them. But here's the twist. He had no clue what these herbs were. So, Earth packed up his bag and went back to town to get them checked out. At first, figuring out what they were felt like trying to do calculus in the dark, but eventually, he got the hang of it. He even sorted them out and got his medicine skill up to level 3. Now, here's where things get spicy. He accidentally grabbed a herb called the suffocation herb. The name alone is a dead giveaway, right? If you ate it, you'd stop breathing and join the celestial choir. Earth was like, who thought putting this in the newbie zone was a good idea? So, what's Earth's plan? He goes on a shopping spree. He spends his starting cash on a beginner's medicine crafting set. After some grinding, soaking, and adding heat, he whips up his first healing potion. It's like making instant ramen but for heroes. But there's a catch. Making lots of potions at once means they aren't as good. It's like those knockoff goods you sometimes find online. With his potions and antidotes ready, Earth is all set for his big hunt the next day. Making all this stuff levels up his medicine and production fingertip skills. He's like a pro chef of healing potions. The next day, he heads out to the field, and guess what? It's not as crowded as before. No more monster battles. While he's lost in thought, a rabbit hops out of the bushes. Earth gets his bow ready, but reloading it is a pain. He takes a shot, but the rabbit's like, not today, and dodges it. But Earth doesn't give up. He dashes in for a counterattack and hits the rabbit's leg. That just makes the rabbit more angry, and it charges at him even harder. But Earth isn't backing down. He pulls off a double kick like it's straight out of a fighting game, and bam, the rabbit's toast. It drops some loot, and Sway can't help but laugh at the absurdity of it all. He even mimics the rabbit's noise. Laughter is his superpower, apparently. His buddy Millie apologizes for his weirdness, and introduces her friend Sway, who thinks he's cool. They send him a friend request and plan to be a strongest duo, but Earth's not buying it. After this adventure, Earth decides he needs more practice because it took him ages to take down his first target. He tries again, but the rabbits are onto him. So, he remembers he has a sneak skill and uses it to hide until he's ready to shoot. This time, he's a pro. He even manages a critical hit, which he calls a pinpoint hit. Combining these skills makes him a force to be reckoned with. Earth finally figures out his next move, logging out and getting some beauty sleep because work awaits him the next day. The next day, Earth found himself back online for more gaming action. He grabbed a piece of bread, but he quickly realized that the food the NPCs were selling in the game was as disappointing as a birthday without cake. You see, in this game, you could actually taste the food, and Earth had high culinary standards. He was practically a Michelin star food critic trapped in a gamer's body. So, what did he do? He ended up in some alley, bought a seasoning and cooking set, and got to work. First, he tried pan-searing some rabbit horn meat with just salt and pepper, but it turned out as tough as an old shoe. The game system gave it a score of 2 out of 10. Not great, but Earth wasn't giving up. He cooked another piece of meat, added some herbs to make it less gamey, and voila, it was more tender and yummy. The system loved it, giving it a score of 5 out of 10. Still, he wanted to bump up that score, so he parboiled it before searing it in a pan. Now, the smell of his cooking wafted into the busy streets, and players started drooling. Other players, curious about the delicious aroma, gathered around. They had never smelled anything like it in the game world. Earth was like a virtual Gordon Ramsay. Meanwhile, he perfected his dish with a score of 7. Now, here's where it gets funny. The crowd demanded he share his mouth-watering rabbit steak. Earth, inspired by YouTube entrepreneurs, decided to charge them 100 glow per steak. That's 20 times the cost of a boring old bread from the NPCs. Surprisingly, the crowd didn't object. They practically begged him for a taste. As he worked like a mad chef, crafting steak after steak, his customers couldn't wait and heckled him for being too slow. He spent that evening in a virtual Hell's Kitchen. But all the hard work paid off. He reached level 20 in his cooking skill. The customers even had a sign to mark the end of the line. After escaping the kitchen madness, Earth decided to make himself a new bow since no one was selling one. He used his woodworking skills to craft a basic bow from a single piece of wood. It was better than his starter bow, but still weak against decent monsters. Learning from that, he made a compound bow from flexible wood sandwiched between 2 hardwood pieces. This made it 3 times more powerful. Feeling like a medieval fashionista, he got some armor and upgraded his trip. Well, his stats got better. With his new equipment, he spotted higher-level monsters and used his sneak skill to get closer to a wall. After taking it down, he activated wind magic to defeat a spider and used a wind cutter on a monster worm. They all dropped some fancy loot, leveling up his archery skill and a few others. Tired but satisfied, he decided to call it a day since he was running low on arrows. Back at his virtual home, he noticed positive feedback on his vending machine. Little did everyone know that a new game system was about to attack brutally. Players panicked, rushing to the main area, desperately looking for potions and anyone with the medicine skill. They were willing to pay top dollar for potions because the NPCs ran out of stock. Earth was confused because NPCs usually sold potions. He called Zwei for the scoop. Zwei explained that the NPCs couldn't sell potions anymore. Zwei also pointed out that it was bad for Earth because everyone would beg him for potions since he'd been selling them in his vending machine. Frantic players spotted Earth and swarmed him, demanding potions. Zwei rushed to Earth's side upon hearing the commotion. Earth told the crowd he'd sell potions for 40 glow each, limiting the maximum amount per person because there were too many players. They all cheered and crowded around. Zwei handled crowd control, and Millie took the money, allowing Earth to focus on potion making. Pressure was on. Hardly anyone had taken the medicine skill because they thought it was trash. Earth didn't want players to be upset since nobody else had potion. He used badge crafting to make a lot more potions, but soon he ran out of medicinal herbs and had to turn away new customers. Earth promised there would be more potions the next day. But, as luck would have it, Ward and his party barged in, demanding all the remaining potions. Earth politely told them that the potions were for the people in line. Ward didn't like that and walked toward Earth, but Zwei stepped in, telling him to back off. Ward knocked Zwei down with one hit and threatened Earth. Earth pointed to the people waiting in line and explained that if NPCs stopped selling weapons and armor, players would provide those services. If Ward annoyed everyone, they wouldn't sell to him either. Ward challenged Earth to a duel, and Earth accepted. They were transported to an arena. Ward was overconfident, and Earth planned to use that to his advantage. Earth dodged Ward's attack, knocked off his helmet, and hit him with 2 arrows to the head. Ward went down, and the crowd was stunned by Earth's skills. Earth apologized to his customers for the chaos and promised more potions the next day. He logged out to get some rest, but he received a party invite from Zwei. The story continues as there's a discussion about a significant event where medical supplies ran out of stock in the game world. This incident had the potential to change the game dynamics. Even unplayable characters now needed medical supplies, making medicine-making skills valuable. Players started crafting and selling medicines to these characters. After registering in the game, Earth joins his friends who are eagerly waiting for him. Among them is Zwei, the guild leader, who thanks Earth for accepting the invitation. The group begins introducing themselves. Nora, a white-haired girl skilled in close combat with a short sword, warns Earth not to use words like flat or smooth around her, as they might trigger her aggressive tendencies because she's flat from top to bottom. Next is Rage, a giant who also serves as the tanker, wielding a massive axe with one hand, showcasing his immense strength. Following him is Kazumi, who wears a green cloak and sports long rooster-like hair, known for his exceptional sword skills. Earth proceeds to introduce himself and talks about his ranged bow weapon. Before he can finish, Nora approaches and tells him they already know about him, mentioning how he caught everyone's attention with his impressive combat skills against a tough opponent. Curious, Earth asks about the team's composition. They explain that there are 4 melee fighters, 1 mage, and 1 support member. Nora mentions that Millie, the girl with blue eyes and blue hair, can use multiple elements at once, making her a versatile mage. Nora herself excels in medical skills and can heal wounded allies. Earth is delighted by their abilities because Nora can fight up close and provide support at the same time. This diverse team composition excites him, as he sees the potential for effective teamwork and synergy among their abilities. Earth then asks the group about their goal for the day, and Rage informs him that they intend to hunt a wild bear, a formidable creature. However, they believe they are strong enough to face and defeat it easily. Zwei places his hand on Earth's shoulder and assures him that they are confident of victory because Earth is with them. They acknowledge his strength and intelligence. Earth expresses his doubts, mentioning that he hasn't fought a wild bear before and has heard that they are fast, intelligent, and challenging to defeat. However, Zwei ignores his concerns and focuses on the fact that Earth will cook something delicious for them once they succeed. With their goals set, the group sets out together. The scene shifts to Earth in the forest, using a detection tool to search for bears more efficiently. They spot several bear groups but decide to lure a single bear away from the rest to avoid drawing unwanted attention. Everyone thanks Earth for his presence because he possesses the unique ability of a scope and long-range vision that the naked eye cannot match. Zwei instructs Millie, the girl with blue eyes and blue hair, to significantly enhance Earth's abilities. At that moment, Earth informs them that he will separate from the group and use his stealth skill. We then see Earth approaching the bear closely and using his bow to shoot a special arrow called the Wounding Hawk shot. He manages to hit the fierce bear, but the attack only infuriates it, and the injury doesn't seem to faze the beast. Earth becomes terrified. Just in time, Rage arrives with a massive cleaver and a powerful steel shield. He uses the shield to block the bear's powerful strikes, showcasing its remarkable durability. Millie then uses her healing spell to replenish Rage's energy, which he had lost in the battle. Nora intervenes by jumping into the air and employing a powerful stabbing technique, thrusting her dagger into the bear's tough hide. Other members also attack it, but the bear's skin proves too resilient for him to penetrate or cut. Earth is in great fear, but at this moment, Rage with his massive cleaver rushes forward, and his sturdy steel shield withstands the bear's blows. Millie uses her energy-enhancing ability on Rage once more. Nora, undeterred, leaps into the air and employs a powerful force-piercing technique, thrusting her dagger into the bear's hide. However, the bear's skin remains too tough for her short sword to break through. Then, they see the bear, and Millie attempts to attack it with her fire ability to kill it. However, the bear is massive and resilient, and her attack doesn't seem to harm it. Rage prepares his strength to unleash it on the bear, shielding it against its strikes. Nora also uses her power to assist her friends as they continue their attacks. They realize they've underestimated the bear, and it retaliates fiercely. Their powers begin to weaken, and Earth, observing this, knows he must make a decisive move quickly. Drawing on his 38 years of life experience, he takes a daring risk, aiming for a rare weak point. He knows he has only one chance, and if he fails, he doesn't deserve to be part of the team. Earth releases his arrow, aiming precisely at the bear's weak point. The bear becomes more agitated but seemingly unaffected. Earth is puzzled because he's sure he hit the weak spot, but the bear remains unharmed. Their situation looks dire, and Earth contemplates his last resort, knowing he must play his final card. Earth launches an attack on the bear using a spell he learned at level 15 in Magic. He has just 10 seconds to deliver a massive speed boost. Earth rushes in and kicks the bear between its eyes, calling out to Zwei and Millie to prepare for their coordinated strike. In response, Millie unleashes her fire magic, intensifying the flames dangerously around the bear. The bear collapses to the ground, overwhelmed by the fire, and eventually succumbs to the flames. It vanishes from the game. The team is relieved and overjoyed as they manage to kill the bear after a grueling battle. Nora expresses regret to Zwei for underestimating the difficulty of the task. In the end, Earth invites everyone to enjoy a meal he has prepared, and they eagerly look forward to it, having been eagerly awaiting it. The team continues to enjoy their meal, savoring the delicious wolf shish kebab that Earth has prepared. The aroma of lemon juice and the herbs used in the marinade enhance the flavor of the meat, and everyone relishes the feast. It's clear that the group has a shared love for meat, and Earth's efforts in preparing the dish do not go unnoticed. Nora engages Earth in a conversation about cooking recipes, wondering if they are expensive. Earth explains that while recipes themselves aren't expensive, they cannot be simply bought. There's an unspoken rule among craftsmen that prohibits the trade of recipe. One reason for this is that creating a recipe requires significant time and resources. Another reason is that even if two people follow the same recipe, the quality of their products can vary greatly, leading to inconsistency. Recipes are a result of hard work and innovation, and duplicating them doesn't guarantee the same quality. Nora expresses frustration because she won't be able to replicate Earth's shish kebab recipe even if she begged for it. Sway, however, informs them that from now on, Earth will be part of their team, and they will invite him to cook for them at a lower cost. This surprises Earth, and he's somewhat taken aback by this sudden decision. Nevertheless, the team is thrilled about Earth joining them and excited about the prospect of his cooking. Earth, seeing their enthusiasm, agrees to join and sends friend requests to all of them. Afterward, we see Earth facing and defeating a monster in the forest. He then encounters a massive bee creature and aims his arrow at it, but his shot misses its mark, and the bee remains unharmed. Earth's arrow, however, manages to hit another insect in the vicinity. Earth, after failing to hit the bee-like creature, realizes it's actually a rock ant with the ability to communicate and summons its allies in the ensuing battle. Earth attacks the ant, but it counters his strike, leaving him immobilized. The other ants join in, and Earth feels his body going numb as they surround him. He resigns himself to his defeat and is sent back to the town, reflecting on his defeat. Earth acknowledges his arrogance in underestimating the rock ant, and vows to improve himself for the next encounter. Soon after, Earth receives an important message. The Life Free Network announces a major update called Fairy Sphere for its players. This update promises new skills, arts, crafting tools, and supportive fairy, along with a level increase and no more severe penalties for death. Earth is relieved about the removal of death penalty, and he has worked hard to avoid them. He has also learned blacksmithing. Earth decides to create an arrowhead capable of penetrating the tough exoskeleton of the rock ant. He designs a pyramid-shaped iron arrowhead with thorns at the back and attaches it to a wooden shaft, creating a powerful iron-tipped arrow with an attack power of 7. He also creates iron boots with short, thick spikes at the bottom for kicking purposes, as he's encountered creatures vulnerable to kicks, like the rock ant. To address these issues, Earth adds 7 short, thick spikes to the bottom of his boots, similar to a boot knife. When he shows these creations to Blacks, the blacksmith, Blacks is astonished. He's never seen someone craft a tool specifically for kicking before. Earth proudly presents the completed product, and Blacks is even more amazed by Earth's ingenuity. The next day, Mayan questions Earth about his frightening-looking boots, surprised by the transformation. Earth explains that it's more than just a cosmetic change. Mayan remarks on his increased violence, considering him just a cook. But Earth explains that he had no other choice and thanks her for the bowstrings. Earth has now reached level 30 in archery and believes he has 3 options for bows: the short bow, the long bow, or the hunting bow. He decides to craft a hunting bow because it offers the same range and power as a long bow but with added skills and a more powerful punch. He starts by selecting the wooden frame and shaping the iron components. During this process, Black approaches him, surprised by Earth's creation. Earth explains that it's enjoyable to make things that don't exist in the real world. Black appreciates Earth's creativity, highlighting that the best part of being a craftsman is bringing unique ideas to life. Earth completes the bow, naming it the Compound Hunting Bow X. It's different from any bow he's seen before and requires greater strength to draw, but it offers a tremendous feeling when released. He then holds his old bow and thanks it for its service, bidding farewell as he's now eager to try out his new creation. The next morning, Earth heads into the forest and encounters a solitary rock ant, unaccompanied by comrades. Earth prepares his arrow, loads it onto the new bow, and releases it with a whirlwind shot. He lands a powerful blow that incapacitates the ant, leaving it immobilized. Earth continues to eliminate more ants effortlessly with his new bow, including extracting the sacs from their exoskeleton. He considers using these sacs to create a lightweight shield and considers asking the armor merchant, Mime, to help him with that. Soon, a notification is broadcasted to all players, announcing the imminent start of the Fairy Ball event. A large crystal appears in the sky, indicating the event's commencement. Earth is overjoyed and mentions his hopes of forming a contract with the Wind Fairies. He is curious about the rewards and begins performing the fairy contract ritual. During the ritual, the crystal starts shaking vigorously, and a part of it suddenly shatters, leaving Earth stunned and immobilized. His friend, Zwei, approaches him and informs him that he successfully formed a contract with the Wind Fairies. Arth is surprised and asks about the others. To his amazement, he discovers that everyone else has also easily formed contracts with the fairies. Arth is overwhelmed by despair and disappointment, but Millie comforts him, reminding him that it's still early, as the announcement mentioned a two-part event. This means there is a second half yet to come, giving them another chance. Arth is relieved and appreciates her encouragement. Millie also mentions that Earth's crystal didn't disappear entirely, suggesting that he still has another opportunity. She is confident that something good may happen in the second half of the event. Everyone agrees with her, and they all rally around Earth, providing emotional support. Suddenly, all the fairies gather around Earth, showing immense affection towards him, which angers Zwei. The group teases Earth, calling him a fairy player, and they are quite upset because all of their fairies are with him. However, Earth finds the fairies cute and hopes for another chance to form a contract. The story continues as Earth decides to take a break under a tree and enjoy the beauty of nature. He's soon joined by a friendly fairy who flits around him. Earth sits up and notices the fairy's friendliness, even though he doesn't understand why. The fairy lands on his finger, indicating its desire to make a contract, but Earth apologizes, explaining that he can't because his crystal is broken. He summons the crystal to show the fairy, who happily plays around it. Earth is content as long as the fairy is having fun. During this moment, Earth decides to check his stats, and he's thrilled to see that they've all increased. This means he can learn more specialized skills, which excites him because it allows him to fight in new ways. With newfound confidence, Earth decides to explore his first dungeon, and as he walks through a dark cave, he reminisces about his younger days exploring such places. His skills alert him to a hidden danger, and he skillfully dodges it, continuing with a smile. Earth loves the thrill of not knowing how far the darkness will go. However, he pauses when he reaches a particularly dark section, and suddenly, red eyes appear in the darkness. A spider jumps out at him, and Earth quickly draws his bow, feeling the thrill of adventure. He shoots an arrow straight into the spider's head, making it recoil. Earth follows up with high-level wind spells, causing the monster to fall on its back. But to his surprise, the spider quickly recovers and counterattacks. Thinking on his feet, Earth uses his high jump skill to leap over the spider's attack, but he forgets about the cave ceiling and bumps his head. Despite the pain, he remains focused and uses a whip he recently purchased to lasso the spider toward him. Earth finishes the spider off with a powerful kick, aided by the blades on his feet. Although he's in pain from the high jump mishap, he reminds himself to be more cautious about the cave's ceiling next time. Suddenly, a group of darkness fairies appears and guides Earth deeper into the cave. He eventually reaches a cliff with a narrow ledge, and he carefully walks along it. As the footing becomes more challenging, Earth activates his stable center of gravity skill, allowing him to navigate the ledge safely. He then jumps onto a platform, where the fairies gather around a rock, hinting that he should investigate. Curious, Earth moves the rock and discovers a secret door. He opens it and finds a box, which he excitedly takes. Earth comments on how moments like this make adventuring great. He checks the box for traps and, finding none, opens it. Inside, he finds an old ring, which greets him. Earth speculates that the ring needs to be placed on something specific and puts it in his item box. He plans to keep it as a memento of his first dungeon conquest and thanks the fairies for their help in finding cool loot. While he's still excited about his discovery, Earth receives a message from the game makers. They inform players that they're about to announce the second part of the Fairy Ball, called the Fairy Battle Tournament. The scene changes as Earth rushes back to town. He joins other players in the main square, where they receive some important news. They are informed that their fairies are going to evolve, but this will happen through PvP fights. By competing or winning a certain number of PvP battles, their fairies can evolve and take on new forms. However, it's not as simple as just fighting anyone repeatedly. Fighting the same opponent multiple times won't count toward the evolution. Players need to challenge new opponents to make progress. The top 16 players in this special versus mode will be invited to a tournament with amazing prizes up for grabs. Players who win can also gain special titles that set them apart from the rest. There are even hidden play styles that can lead to hidden titles. For those who couldn't make contracts with fairies initially, there's good news. They have another chance. They can repair their contract crystals through PvP, and these repaired crystals have a higher success rate and are more likely to obtain rare fairies. The game makers have also unlocked a feature where fairies can have their own self-identity, allowing them to act differently from the set behavior. This new announcement has players excited, but Earth wonders how it will work, especially for those not skilled in PvP. He hopes that players won't target crafters who may not be as skilled in combat. Earth goes to the blacksmithing area, and the blacksmith assures him that there's nothing for crafters to worry about. The player community has decided to protect crafters by uniting against anyone trying to force them into a fight, serving as a strong deterrent. Nobody wants the whole guild's resentment to fall on them. Earth is pleased to hear about the new town, Nexia. However, when Black expresses his disinterest in competing and only wants to focus on crafting, Earth starts wondering what he should do in the meantime. The game makers add a special title to Earth, who is surprised to see that he is now known as a fairy player. The title cannot be unequipped, and it only disappears after participating in a special PvP battle during the event. Earth feels humiliated as his new title catches everyone's attention. He falls to the floor in despair, and a crowd gathers around to see his title, making him feel even more embarrassed. Some fairies come to support him. Earth realizes that participating in PvP is his only way to lift the curse of this title. He starts pleading with anyone to fight against him. Rona, a member of the Blue Color Guild, steps up to accept his fight request. Rona knows about Earth and even calls him by name. She reveals that she uses martial arts and is excited to face him. Earth thanks Rona for accepting the challenge. However, he is shocked when he sees a familiar creature flying to him, landing on his shoulder. This creature is shy and cancels the fight request, refusing to battle Earth. This unexpected event leaves everyone excited to see what this special title, Fairy Player, might bring. Earth pleads with anyone to engage in PvP with him, but it seems that no one is willing to accept. He falls to the floor, feeling disheartened. A few days later, Earth is busy cooking food when Rona contacts him. She's seeking advice because her familiar isn't eating, and she wants to know how to make food that it will enjoy. Earth quickly realizes that many players are facing this issue. He explains that he made some food for a player who had a similar problem with his familiar not eating bread. The food, called carriage, turned out to be a hit, and word of mouth led to a long line of players wanting to order it. Earth, however, had to limit orders to packs of 3 because the demand was overwhelming. He asks Rona needing a helper. Rona decides to help Earth, which makes a significant difference in managing the rush of orders. Additionally, other cooks have started making fairy food, which has alleviated some of the pressure on Earth. After their shift, Rona suggests they visit the new town. They use a warp portal to get there and head straight to the PvP area. Rona notices something unusual about a wolf familiar currently battling, and Earth agrees that there's something odd. The PvP fight begins, and the player with the bird fairy collaborates well with their familiar. However, the other player calls for their familiar's assistance during a critical moment, but the wolf ignores the command. This decision leads to their defeat in the battle. Rona is curious about what just happened because she didn't think that a fairy could ignore its owner's commands. Earth then explains that the guy they observed is a slave fairy user. This term is used to describe players who mistreat their fairies, either by hitting them or not treating them kindly. This harsh treatment can lead to the fairies not following their owner's commands anymore. In the battle, the loser gets frustrated and is about to hit his fairy, and Earth anticipates that something bad is going to happen. Earth recalls a video he once watched of a similar situation where a slave fairy user had to fight their contracted fairy as a penalty. The contracted fairy received a power-up and easily defeated the player. The loser's contract crystal was taken away for losing the battle, and all his fairy-related data was reset. The loser seems to pause because he also knows about this system and what's coming. Rona expresses surprise, mentioning that she didn't know such a system existed in the game. Earth explains that it's a similar system used in older online games. He speculates that the game developers wanted to pay tribute to these types of mechanics. Earth decides to log out of the game to get some rest. The next day, after a long day of selling food in the game, Earth is visited by the loser. The guy wants to talk to Earth about his special title. He expresses his desire to make amends with his fairy because he watched a video of someone's fairy attacking them. He doesn't want to meet the same fate. While playing with the familiar, he wants to understand why its owner was so mean to it in the first place. The loser explains that he didn't know how to care for his fairy, so he looked online and saw people treating their fairies like circus animals. He admits that he followed their example, and when his fairy developed a personality and stopped listening to him, he resorted to hitting it to make it obey. However, he's now realized that he was doing something wrong and wants to learn a better way. He even offers to pay for the information and guidance. Earth refuses the offer and advises the man not to make a habit of seeking easy solutions to his problem. He tells the guy that he should treat his fairy like a friend, spend time together, fight battles, take breaks, say goodbye when logging out, or even share a meal. The loser is moved by this advice and asks Earth to make him a portion of carriage, but Earth gets annoyed because he didn't know he had gained the nickname Famous Fairy Player Chef. Nevertheless, he prepares a portion for the guy, who feeds it to his fairy, dispelling the negativity around it. The loser thanks Earth with tears in his eyes, and they set off on a new path, ready to live their lives differently. Earth's moment is interrupted by an old man named Silver, who admires what he just witnessed. Silver introduces himself and requests a private conversation away from the crowds. The story continues with Earth, feeling very happy because he has a contract with another player named Silver. Silver is known for having some of the best equipment in the game and is considered one of the best players. Earth is sitting and talking to himself when Silver joins him. Silver asks Earth about someone named Glad, but Earth admits he hasn't heard of this person before. Silver then explains that there's a rumor going around that Glad is targeting players with the title of Fairy Player, and he might come after Earth soon. Curious, Earth asks about Glad's background and what he does. Silver reveals that Glad used to be a part of their group but had some behavioral issues. Despite being highly skilled and intelligent, Glad became arrogant and condescending towards others. As the leader, Silver had no choice but to kick him out of the group. This revelation makes Earth realize that there might be a significant problem. The old man goes on to explain that when a special event in the game called the Fairy Event started, Glad failed to make a contract with a fairy, just like Earth. This failure upset Glad, and he started causing trouble with other party members. He became so upset that Silver had to expel him from the group. Then, the old man summons a powerful character called a Light Valkyrie who is beautiful and sharp. He continues to reveal that Glad has obtained a new contract crystal and declared his affiliation with the Darkness Fox Fairy. Now, he roams around challenging people to PvP duels to prove himself in any way possible. The old man warns Earth to stay away from Glad to avoid getting into trouble, and Earth thanks him for the advice. The old man apologizes for the lengthy explanation and leaves. Earth, in the meantime, reflects on the importance of being cautious and not believing only one side of the story. He now understands that there's more to the situation than he initially thought, and that he needs to be careful in the game. The story continues with Earth, who is playing a video game. He knows it's not allowed to challenge someone to a PvP fight while they're fighting monsters. So, even though Glad might be after him, Earth decides to go hunting because that way, he'll be safe from PvP battles. Earth takes a shot with his bow and arrow, hitting a bear in the head. The bear gets really mad. Earth uses a new skill called Mirror Arrow to shoot multiple arrows at the bear's face, immobilizing it. Then, he finishes the bear off with his sharp bringer of death boots. Earth mentions that he's learned a new bow technique, which he finds helpful, but fighting a wild bear on his own is still tough. However, he's fine with it because that's how he likes to play the game. Afterward, Earth uses some skill points to improve his kicks and earns his first kick art. He also finds some ore and hopes to discover steel and light metal for crafting. To his surprise, he uncovers explosive ore, which has a dangerous area of effect. He manages to collect it safely, but everyone agrees it's overpowered and wishes it would be nerfed. That night, Earth asks a friend named Black if he can use his smith shop. Black wonders if Earth is going to make something unusual again, but he leaves to take care of his own business. Earth starts crafting a new arrowhead and metal whip. The arrowhead is designed to dig into flesh, inspired by an item called the Twisted Blade Dagger. It's a challenging technique, but Earth works on it the whole night. He succeeds in adding a status debuff to an arrow, a significant achievement. Then, he starts working on the whip, and Black is amazed when he sees the final product, an expertly crafted metal whip. Earth's arms are tired, but it was worth the effort. Earth takes the explosive ore to a woman who lets him work on it in her basement. It's a bit sketchy, but Earth is fine with it because he won't bother anyone if things go wrong. Handling the ore is risky due to its potential to explode, but Earth doesn't want to waste it. He decides to experiment with it using his medical skills. After a series of experiments with chemicals and herbs, he figures out a formula. The first mixture fails, causing massive damage, but the second one is incredibly powerful, taking 80% of his HP. He names it Hell Mine Oil because it's so potent. Earth tests his last concoction and determines it has the perfect ratio. As Earth continues his adventure, he combines his new weapons, skills, and items to easily defeat a group of bear-like creatures called bee-bears. He acknowledges that the exploding oil makes things easier, but also understands that he won't be able to improve his skills if he relies on it too much. Earth levels up in both his hunting bow and wind magic, unlocking the Aeolian Dust hunting bow, a skill that allows him to add magical properties to a weapon. Earth decides to give it a try and tests his Gatling arrow skill, which allows him to fire in bursts. He's surprised to find he can only manage 2 arrows at his current skill level. He also discovers that his wind support magic helps him jump higher. With all the materials and knowledge gained from slaying the bears, Earth asks a merchant to craft him a cape, as he wants protection from attacks from behind. An announcement is made to all the players that they are wrapping up the scoring for the Fairy PvP event. Sway looks for Earth and tells him that their guild didn't spend much time on the event, so he doubts any of them made it into the tournament. Earth understands because there are only 16 spots available. Just then, it's revealed who will be invited to the tournament, and both Silver and Glad are on the list. It's clear that these two have much higher win rates and battle numbers than everyone else. Earth is worried about what's going on between them, but he can't resist watching them fight. Soon, the tournament starts, and it seems like all the players might be there to watch. Earth uses his long-distance vision to check on other people. He discovers that there are actually other players who also have the title of Fairy Player. This makes him feel better because they must be going through the same situation. The battles begin, and Sui points out that all the fighters are really high level. Not only that, but their fairies have evolved a lot. Earth, being realistic, knows that if he entered the tournament, he would be lucky to win 10% of his matches. Earth notices something peculiar during the battles. He sees particles of light transferring from the losing fairy to the winning one, which didn't happen in previous fairy PvP events. This leaves him wondering about the strange phenomenon. The battles continue, and the much-anticipated match between Silver and Glad is about to begin. Glad starts by trash-talking, and Silver takes responsibility for Glad's descent into darkness. Silver plans to make Glad change his ways by defeating him first. Their fight starts, but Glad is already familiar with Silver's moves, and they seem evenly matched. Everyone is in awe of what top players look like in action. The old man, Silver, unleashes a powerful attack, but Earth is shocked to see that the Black Knight dodges it using a wind boost. It turns out to be a trap for Silver since he can't dodge midair. Glad takes the opportunity to slash at him. Silver's fairy takes the hit for him, and Glad is declared the winner. It's evident that both of them were equally strong, but Earth points out that Glad's obsession with victory made the difference. Glad is pleased that his fox fairy evolved and hopes that she will finally be of value to him. However, she can now speak and refuses to be in Glad's presence for another second. Confused, Glad presses for an explanation. She reveals the shocking truth. The real purpose of this event was to select the next ruler of the fairies. The fairies received a prophecy that their next ruler should be someone strong and skilled in the arts of war, even though fairies are not naturally inclined to warfare. So, they decided to learn how to fight from humans, the masters of war. The winner of a fight would inherit the experiences of the loser, continuing until only one fairy was left to become their ruler. This newly evolved fairy is the one meant to be their queen. Glad is furious, assuming that all the fairies will leave now that they've used the humans for their purpose. But the Queen Fairy explains that this isn't the case. She is only leaving Glad because their contract has ended. Glad had sought revenge on the old man, which was all he ever wanted, and she points out that she never meant anything to him. They were never partners, she was just a tool for him. Now, she reveals that she, too, used Glad as a tool to help her achieve her goal of becoming the Queen of the Fairies. The Queen Fairy tells Glad that while the game might be just fun for him, it's real life to her. Millie notices that the Queen Fairy is speaking like a real person, and Earth agrees that she doesn't seem like an AI at all. He wonders if she's part of some experiment, but decides not to ask to be polite. The Queen Fairy offers Glad another fairy as strong as she was before evolving, but he refuses. It's clear that Glad is very upset and is resorting to force. The Queen tells him that if he can defeat her in a fight, she will acknowledge his strength and follow him again. However, if he loses, he won't get any of the prize money or the fairy. Glad just wants to stop talking and force the Queen to obey him again. Their fight begins, but the Queen Fairy quickly shows that she's much more powerful. Everyone is amazed at how fast she can cast spells, and she unleashes a devastating attack. Although Glad manages to counterattack, the Queen's power shocks him. Her next attack is a massive explosion, leaving Glad with just 1 HP. But the Queen Fairy doesn't stop there. She hits him with a lightning strike, leaving him barely alive. The angry fairy keeps going, dealing a final blow. She leaves Glad with just 1 hit point and lets Silver take it from there. Surprisingly, the Queen Fairy reveals that there are 3 people who still deserve rewards. She gathers all the fairy players, including Earth, from the crowd. She thanks them for not fighting, even though it meant giving up a chance to evolve their fairies. Evolving their fairies was meant to be a reward for battling, but she wanted to thank some of them for not fighting. So, she raises the ranks of their fairies. However, she has something different in mind for Earth. Shockingly, she tells him that he will be fighting her. This brings an end to our episode. If you enjoyed it, then don't forget to subscribe our channel for more anime recaps.